So I have a very special day coming up for my wife. And I was sitting here thinking of a good gift to give her. And then I remembered we went over to a friend's house and the wife really liked their hydrangeas. She liked the fact that they changed colors. So I said, bingo. I know what I'm going to do for the missus. I'm going to get her some hydrangeas. I've also wanted to experiment with this idea that I've seen on YouTube where someone planted the hydrangeas with blueberries because she also likes blueberries. And the reason why you plant the hydrangeas with the blueberries is because hydrangeas change colors with the acidity of the soil. And blueberries like an acidic soil. So what you're left with is a natural pH indicator. So I went around shopping to a couple different stores until I found a variety that I liked, as well as the price I liked. I ended up finding some at Lowe's that were pretty decent price. I even found some on clearance. The ones I found at Lowe's on clearance, they go from a pink to a almost lavenderish color. So when it hits to a lower pH, they'll get to a lavender color. When they're bright pink, that means it is the higher pH, like closer to 7. Of course, the blueberries, they like their soil around 5 on the pH scale, 5.5. I wouldn't go higher than 5.5. I think you can actually go slightly lower than 5, but long story long, you want your hydrangeas to be in the lavender to blue, deep blue range, and that would be acceptable for the blueberries. I did a short on blueberries, and if you watch that short, what you'll find is that when it comes to blueberries and things like acidic soil, you have to start with an acidic soil blend. It's very important. I learned this the hard way. It's more difficult taking a higher pH and trying to drop it down to 5 than just starting with a compost or a soil blend that is already closer to the 5 scale. Now, typically, I like to get an azalea mix from Living Earth. And Living Earth azalea is actually really low. It's like close to the 5 on the pH scale out the gate. So it's really just a matter of mixing the half compost and half azalea mix. Mix a little bit of cottonseed meal to give it kind of some fast draining as well as some nutrients. However, they are completely out of the azalea mix. So my second option, I've done this before, is make my own kind of azalea mix blend, if you will. And so what I am doing, and I've learned this from watching Growing Out the Box, who I believe I've crowned the blueberry king. I do a third of peat moss, a third of pine bark nuggets or pine mulch, and then a third of compost manure or some type of good compost mixture. Then I'll add some berry tone acidifier to get it kind of closer to the pH I want. Now, there's a couple different ways you can test the pH. You can use strips, or you can use, there is a liquid reagent kit, or you can use a pH meter. pH meter, I believe, is not as accurate, but what you can do, what I found is helpful, I've taken the meter, stuck it in a glass of vinegar, and then kind of take note of where that vinegar was on the scale, on the one that you stick in the ground. And I kind of use it as my baseline. Although it's not accurate, it kind of gives me an idea of, of a baseline to start with. And I go from that point to go, if it's higher or lower than that point, it gives me a rough idea. Now that I got all the ingredients for my soil, I mix it up nice and good. Sometimes I throw in a little bit of perlite just to kind of give it a little bit better drainage. And now I'm going ahead and put the soil in these nice decorative pots. And I got everything mixed up, and then put a little bit of fertilizer in there. I have this fertilizer that I got from Ivy Organics. Some really great fertilizer. Sprinkle a little bit in there. It's a slow release, but it's a very well balanced fertilizer. It's kind of geared more toward fruit trees and fruit bushes. And then next, once I get them all in there set nice and pretty and everything, trimmed off the dead spots. And then I go ahead and kind of figure out where I want to set it right there around the front porch. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait to see if they change colors. This will kind of give me indication whether or not I need to add a little bit more peat moss to make it more acidic. So I've been sitting in the front porch in the pot for about a week. And if you notice, they were very, very bright pink, which means that my soil is not acidic enough. So I went ahead and did it. I got some more peat moss, and I put some more peat moss in there along with some berry tone soil acidifier. And we're going to see a couple more days if it drops the color.